Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the Powerfist from New Vegas. This one has been a Fallout staple for as long as Fallout's been around. There's been a Powerfist in every single Fallout game, or at least some variation of a Powerfist in every single Fallout game too. So we're going to be talking about this today, and I'm not actually going to be including every single thing that is technically counted as a Power Fist or goes for a Power Fist, because this won't include the Saturite Fist or the Saturite Fist Superheated or the Industrial Hand, because I feel like all of those weapons are kind of different enough from one another. It really wouldn't make the most sense to keep them on the same video list. So they're going to have their own separate videos. The Saturite Fist is going to get one and the Industrial Hand's going to get one. But we'll still be looking at the regular Power Fist, the modified version of it that you can get in the Gunrunner's Arsenal, and then the two unique versions of the Power Fist here. Otherwise, we'd go up to 7 fists, and then we have to talk about all the other unique mechanics that go along with them. Anyway, the Power Fist is probably a weapon that you're going to be getting around the mid to late game for New Vegas. There are a couple places where you can just run and get one right away, so that does help, especially if you want to go and get some of the unique ones. Then you can do that as well, especially if you want to just run right to Old World Blues and you want to count the Saturite Fist, then you can go and get that at any time. The Power Fist requires 50 unarmed and 5 strength to wield, so not very high strength and not very high unarmed. You're probably going to have a lot of strength if you're going with an unarmed build anyway, since unarmed and melee tend to like a lot of strength. 50 unarmed is totally doable by the time that you're going to be getting this. This does 40 damage per hit, which is pretty good. That's actually pretty nice damage per hit, although it only does 44 damage per second. The Power Fist does not attack super fast, and that can be a little bit annoying when you're first getting used to it, especially compared to some of the unarmed weapons that you had access to before, like the Spike Knuckles. So this might not actually feel like a super big upgrade over something like that. This does have 40 crit damage, which is good. This has a 1x crit chance, so pretty average. Only costs 28 action points, which isn't super high. It's higher than other things like we've talked about with the Spike Knuckles. And for the most part, I think Spike Knuckles are actually kind of an improvement over the Power Fist by the time you're getting it, but the unique versions and some of the modded versions can help out with this. This weighs 6 weight, so it's fairly heavy for an unarmed weapon. Most unarmed weapons don't weigh very much. This is one of the heavier of them. And this has 80 item health, which is not the most amount of item health either, especially for a weapon like this where you're probably going to have to hit something multiple times. Against small and weak enemies, maybe not. You might just want to hit them once and kill them. And if you're using VATS attacks, that can help too, because unarmed does get unique VATS attacks. They're always the same unique ones though, where you have like the uppercut and the cross hit. Those are usually better than regular hits in the VATS. Depends on what weapon you're using and what enemy you're attacking. But those ones generally are kind of the better options, but they're always the same. This isn't like how melee has its own unique attacks and VATS. Power Fist might be kind of hard to buy early on too. You can buy them from like the Brotherhood, so if you want to run right there, you can. There's a couple other places you can buy them. I think the Gunrunners might sell them. I could be wrong. I've never bought a Power Fist from the Gunrunners. And there is also regular Power Fist as well as the Gunrunner's Arsenal version of Power Fist, where the Gunrunner's Arsenal version can be modded out, regular versions cannot, so you kind of want to go for them. And you can buy those ones early on because any vendor can sell them, since the Gunrunner's Arsenal weapons kind of just pop in and out of inventories, or at least most vendors can sell them. Traveling merchants can sell them, so buying a Power Fist early on isn't that bad of an option. And you could potentially even mod it out pretty early on if they happen to have the parts for it. For the pros of the Power Fist, this one does do pretty good damage per hit. That is something that's nice, and it has pretty good action points. So using it in VATS is not the worst. It's not the best for an action point build, but it's not the worst either. The general cons of the Power Fist, though, is that it does have low item health. You might be breaking this kind of quick, which isn't a huge deal if you have something like jury rigging where you can fix it with any unarmed. So if you just find boxing tape or something, you can fix it up for nothing. And it is kind of slow as well. You don't attack super fast with the Power Fist, at least normally, and that can kind of cause issues, because against other melee type enemies, they might be able to attack you really fast, hit you multiple times before you can hit them once or twice back in return. So you might just be losing the trade there unless you have certain other perks that can help out with that. I should mention too, the Power Fist and any of its variants also count as holdout weapons or improved holdout weapons, so you need to have 50 sneak in order to sneak these into areas. But they will be a pretty strong sneak-in weapon if you want to do that. For an overall rating for the Power Fist, I think I'd put it into like the B tier. It's decent enough. I'd put it kind of on the lower end of B tier though, because I honestly don't use regular Power Fists very often. By the time I'm getting them, I probably have like Love and Hate, which is a better weapon than this. And you could get like the Gunrunner's Arsenal version, which can also be better, or the unique versions. So let's talk about the Gunrunner's Arsenal version next, and the different mods that you can attach to it, because that does change up the weapon a decent amount. For mods for the Gunrunner's Arsenal Power Fist, you can get 3 of these. You can buy them at basically any vendor. Any sort of traveling vendor might sell these. And you can get chrome tubes. This increases your overall item health by 100%, so you go from 80 health to 160 health. That does help quite a bit with the Power Fist since it doesn't have the most amount of health. You can get the high capacity valves. These ones give you +8 to your base damage, so you go from 40 base damage up to 48 base damage. That's pretty good. And you can also get the ported chambers. The ported chambers give you 20% increased attack speed. That one helps out the Power Fist quite a bit since, again, it doesn't attack super fast. This isn't going to make it so it attacks really quick, but it does make it feel a lot better than it used to. With all of these on here, it does make the Power Fist feel a little bit better, and I think I would still put this one up into B tier, but it's on the high end of B tier, whereas the other one is on the low end of B tier. It's still a pretty good weapon. It can still feel a little bit awkward, especially compared to other unarmed weapons that you can get around the same time that you're getting a Power Fist, or that you could have gotten even before this, again, like the spiked knuckles, but still a pretty decent weapon overall that does well on an unarmed build. And then we also have the 2 unique versions of the Power Fist that we need to talk about too. So for the very first one, we're going to be talking about Salt Upon Wounds Power Fist. This one is a unique Power Fist that you get at the very end of Honest Hearts. After you've beaten Salt Upon Wounds in whatever way that you chose to beat him, you will be able to open up the locker at the end of this, and this is where you get like all of Daniel's, Joshua's, and Salt Upon Wounds gear. And the Salt Upon Wounds Power Fist is a little bit unique compared to other Power Fists. So this one also requires 50 unarmed, but this one requires 6 strength, weirdly enough, so it actually requires a little bit more. This one does 45 damage per hit, which is more than a Power Fist, plus it does an additional 3 damage for 10 seconds over time, since this one always deals damage over time to any sort of enemy that you're hitting. That can actually be kind of nice. It can make it so you can kill certain things over time, since you might just want to punch them once, and if they're low health, just leave them alone until they die from that. Anything else, you're just applying more stacks of damage over time to them, so that's good. For damage per second, this one does 62 damage per second, plus that 3 damage over 10 seconds, so the damage per second can actually be quite a bit higher, but this thing seems to attack at about the same speed as a regular Power Fist, but it has higher base damage. This does 45 crit damage on hit, which is fine, has a 1x crit modifier, also normal. This only costs 25 action points. It costs less than a regular Power Fist to use in VATS, so that's nice. This one also weighs 6 weight, and this one has 100 item health, so it has a little bit more than a Power Fist. This one is a perfectly fine weapon. I do like the look of it. It's pretty cool, but going all the way through a DLC just to get this one, I don't think it's really the best, and I would probably also put this one up into high B tier. It's a good overall unarmed weapon, but it's not one of the strongest unarmed weapons, and it doesn't compare to some of the other ones that you could get from other DLC. Again, like other ones from other DLCs, like the Superheated Saturite Fist is really good compared to this, and some other ones like the Fist of Rar would also go to a DLC to get, and that one's really, really strong too. This one's solid enough, but it's not what I would consider like a really top tier weapon. Then we also have one more Power Fist to talk about. This one's in the Gunrunner's Arsenal DLC. You do have to buy this one, and you have to buy this one from the Brotherhood. This one is called the Greased Lightning, and this one also requires 50 unarmed and 5 strength, same as a regular Power Fist to wield. This one actually does 32 damage per hit, less damage per hit than a regular Power Fist, but it does 96 damage per second. This one attacks way, way faster than a regular Power Fist, about 3 times as fast as a regular Power Fist would. So the attacks come really, really quick from this, and that helps it out a lot. This does 32 damage on crit, which is fine. It has a 1x crit modifier, costs 28 action points, weighs 6, all the same stats as a regular Power Fist, but it does have 200 item health, so it actually takes quite a while for this one to break, at least compared to the regular Power Fist. This is kind of on par with a lot of other unarmed weapons, so it can break kind of quick, but the damage per second that this one puts out is really good. This one is also very satisfying just to punch things super fast with. I really like Greased Lightning. You do have to buy this from the Brotherhood, like I said, and it does cost you quite a lot. If the Brotherhood's dead, then you can buy this from the Gunrunners, but you do have to kind of do at least part of the Brotherhood quest in order to get this, or go to the Brotherhood, kill them, and then go to the Gunrunners to buy this, so it's going to take some investment both in time and in money for you to get this one. Definitely worth it though. It's probably the strongest of the Power Fists, and I think I'd put Greased Lightning up into A tier. I don't know if I'd quite put it up into S tier. It feels really good, and it's probably one of my go-tos for unarmed weapons, but I don't think it's as strong as some of the other unarmed weapons that you get access to in the game. Things like the Fist of Rar and the Superheated Saturite Fist I think would be better than Greased Lightning, but this one is still competing with quite a few of them. There are some perks though that we should talk about for the Power Fist, and these ones are just generally good unarmed and melee perks. Super Slam is super useful because you can knock down enemies with the Power Fist, and if they're knocked down, they're easy to beat up on. That one's really nice. You can get Piercing Strike. Piercing Strike makes it so any of your attacks have armor piercing on them. That's really good, especially for an unarmed build that already does high damage. It's really good on Greased Lightning because you can just keep punching stuff, and most enemies don't have enough armor to actually just tank through the hits, so if you combine this like Super Slam, it does even more damage. You can have Purifier, which makes it so you have more damage towards mutated enemies like Super Mutants, Ghouls, and Deathclaws. really good for an unarmed build. And you can also have Slayer, which increases your attack speed with all of these. That helps out the Power Fist quite a bit since it doesn't attack super fast, and it helps out Grease Lightning a lot because it already does attack really fast, so attacking even quicker is even nicer. You could also stack something like Rushing Water on top of this. That is a chem, so it's not really a perk. But if you stack that on there, then you get an even faster attack speed with it, and it makes it so at least Grease Lightning is a very, very competent weapon that you can use all throughout the game. Power Fist in general is a pretty decent weapon, although I don't think it's one of the strongest unarmed or melee weapons for most builds. Still a very fun one though, and definitely an iconic one of the Fallout series. So tell me your thoughts on the Power Fist down in the comments below. I would love to hear them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you guys so very much for watching it, and I will talk to you next time. Bye bye everyone!